Welcome. This is AllMinucOne Quick Shots. So, folks, last night we had the big presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there, left wing, right wing, different opinions about how it went. Well, in general, I think that Trump could have been better. And Biden actually looked pretty decent. But the reality is that Biden did nothing. He said nothing. He only threw out there what was the media establishment talking points. He brought up Trump's tax returns. Trump had a story break from the New York Times that he only paid $750 in taxes. That is not true. He paid millions of dollars in taxes. The federal government held that money for future taxes. So in the end, the money that he had left over to pay was $750. That's not the same thing as paying only $750 worth of taxes. But let's say that was true. I don't really care. I don't like taxes either. I don't know who does like taxes. And if we just had a flat tax rate, this wouldn't be an argument. Instead, there are all these loopholes and exemptions because often people like Joe Biden, who are in the ruling class, if you would, they simply like to advantage stuff to their side and to their crony friends. So, another thing Trump seemingly did poor on, but I think I get what he was doing, and that was he didn't condemn white supremacy outright. But why should he? Why does he need to? He's done it in the past. Joe Biden claimed the whole Charlottesville thing. You said there were people on both sides that were good. There were people on both sides that were good. That is not the same thing as the guy that ran over somebody in a car because he freaked out or whatever the hell happened. Or other people showing up with Antifa, against Antifa, the supposed alt-right, those Richard Spencer types. That wasn't everyone there. It was an eclectic mix of individuals, and few were fighting. But this has been debunked. You can look at the transcripts of what Donald Trump said about that night. He condemned neo-Nazis and white supremacy several times in that video. But the media, they lie to you. And Joe Biden knows this. This has been debunked even by people like Snopes, who are very, very left fact checkers. When Trump was asked by Chris Wallace to essentially condemn the white supremacy, he said, sure. What do you want? Who are you talking about? And he redirected the conversation to what is actually going on. And that is Antifa and BLM are out in the streets. Joe Biden denied that Antifa existed. Trump could have been sharper again on doubling down on their existence. We know they exist. I've done videos on it. You can see where they are organized. He said, oh, it's just an ideology. It's just an idea. It doesn't matter if it's just an ideology. If your ideology is communism and you will do anything to achieve it, like hurting people, like burning down buildings, like looting, like murdering people in the streets, like beating people, that kind of stuff, there's a problem. And it ain't on the right. None of it is coming from the right. Now, there are people on the right, which I also do not suggest you do. I generally condemn of retaliation, who have gone around and they've fought against these groups. But the police aren't fighting. The police aren't doing a lot. Some are in some areas. So what do you expect? This is what you get. You get this whole giant blender of chaos and violence that repeats itself over and over again. What Trump did do well was he got Joe Biden to claim certain things about his far left perspectives. For instance, like he wasn't going to do the Green New Deal. Except for if you look at his platform on his website, he's going to do the Green New Deal. So that may have been the strategy. Now, I'm not sure, but I think what Trump perhaps was doing was to say, hey, this is where this guy really stands. He's just a corporatist. He's a dino, and he is. And this is what Joe Biden really is. You're pandering to the far left, but you're not really going to do it. So say it. Talk about it. Now, there were polls. Telemundo polled, and they suggested, based on their polling, that the people believe Trump won something like 64 to 33%. But there are going to be other polls that suggest that, well, Donald Trump lost. in general, I think this is a net neutral debate. Nobody really won. Nobody really lost. There wasn't really any policy. We can talk about Trump's bombastic nonsense. Okay, but most of the questions were pandering towards Joe Biden and his perspective. I felt like Chris Wallace, when he started, sounded a little nervous, to be honest with you. And he interrupted the president a lot. And now I know that the president was interrupting Joe Biden a lot. I think he didn't care, and he did that on purpose. That's to get his base fired up. There was really nothing that Joe Biden said that was truthful. He again went over how Trump flummoxed the whole coof response, and of course, at the same time, Biden was calling him a xenophobe. You can just go look this up, folks. Like, I feel like Biden is so old and so out of touch. He doesn't understand that the internet exists. And it's not like back in the days where unless you had a stack of newspapers or you had a VHS recorder recording the nightly news, you had no way to actually go back and fact check. And they just expect you to be stupid and have no idea what in the world happened, 8 months ago. So it is quite strange to me to watch. But Trump did not make his points clear enough either, and he certainly was not in his best form. Probably doesn't matter, though. Probably doesn't matter, because there's supposed to be 2 more debates. Now, the media is already calling for no more debates. Of course, they didn't want Biden to have this first debate. And again, surprisingly, Biden looked rather good. He was a little flummoxed in the beginning, once or twice, and he did get angry. Trump tried to get underneath his skin, which I actually wanted to see, because I wanted to see him have a mental break. Not because you don't want to pick on Joe Biden or anything, but the guy's, he's just not with it. He's going to be a puppet presidency, just like Obama was, just like George Bush was, and pretty much just like the Clintons were. Like, that's all you're going to see. You're going to see a deep state puppet presidency. Now, we can go back to the original George Bush and say he may or may not have been that, but we know he had a lot of ties and the CIA and this deep state ideology. He was the one going around saying, the New World Order, the New World Order, the New World Order. Whereas Clinton essentially was just kind of a return to mediocreness. George Bush raised taxes that after he said he wouldn't, that was a big deal. There were a lot of things there. Obviously, OGW came along after Clinton, promised no nation building, no wars, promised all these things, and then that's exactly what we got. And we got 16 years of that, which again would be why I'm voting for Trump. So Dan Bongino brought up this point. What is Trump really doing? What is he doing? What is the strategy here? Because you have someone like me who's made up my mind. I follow this stuff too closely. I've been skeptical of the guy for a very long time. I don't like a lot of the stuff that he does. It's not about him being presidential or not. It's just about giving fodder to the media. But I guess it doesn't matter, because look at how they drug GW through the muck all the time. And Ben Shapiro has said in the past that someone like Trump he's just a mud man. So you can throw mud at him all you want, but what's sticking? It's a pretty good point. And so Dan Bongino was saying that today that he believes that the whole thing was just to discredit Joe Biden, to either split his base from the extreme left or the moderates, and for Trump to just solidify his base, in case there's some people out there who are liking Trump and not quite going out to vote. And it's interesting, because that might actually be the strategy. I like to see him a little bit more refined in the next debate. I think Biden needs to drop the stupid headline news talking points that are debunked constantly. And the only reason why you folks believe any of those, or anybody believes any of those, is because you don't actually read the stories. Again, the New York Times article about Donald Trump only being taxed $750 for 2 years, yeah, they completely debunked it within their article. It's just they wrote a 10,000 word article, so it was going to take a good 20 or 30 minutes to read for most people. And that's just not something most people do. They read the headlines, they read the first paragraph or two, and then they're like, oh, screw this. Like, this is well known. People don't read fiction either. They don't read anything. That's why the television and the internet media is so powerful. It's why memes have become so powerful. Because people actually aren't very deep thinkers most of the time. And because that's hard to do, guys. It's hard to do. What I ask of anybody is even if you're not such a person, just find people that you trust, that you know are telling you the truth. Look up the facts, see if they're being debunked or not. I don't care which side of the spectrum you're on. I listen to people like Tim Pool, who considers himself left. I listen to people like Jimmy Dore, who considers himself left. I would listen to David Parkman, but I just can't. The guy's way too hyperbolic. But I try, but every time I try, the stuff he says, I'm like, you're insane, dude. In any case, that was just some thoughts on this debate, and I think it's really a net neutral. I don't think anything really happened there, other than maybe Biden, the mask slipped a little bit on Biden, and that he's not going to be an extreme leftist, or that he could alienate the moderates. We'll see if the debates continue. I'm sure they will. The Biden campaign seems to want them to continue, but the mainstream media, of course, has been like, no, we proved enough. So we'll see how it goes. But hey, with all that, folks, this has been AllMinucOne Quick Shots. I will see you later, and be well.